Can you see me?
Nope.
I can see you. Hang with us, people. We got to do this ritual every single time.
Awesome.
Okay. Welcome to Beyond the Analytics. And this is a report, I like to call it a report, where we evaluate players, systems, organizations. To better, these players, systems, coaches, organizations. So I want to get this ball rolling. I'm very excited about everything that's going on. Where we're going with this idea of player evaluations, because I look out at the content that's out there when it comes to player organizational coaching, and nothing is out there like what we're doing, what we've done on one platform. Now we're going to make it a separate animal away from a certain organization. Anyway, without all the cryptic hullabaloo, I want to get started in this exploration by looking into analytics. I say beyond the analytics, and why this is beyond the analytics, and why analytics can only take you so far. Analytics in football goes, back as far as I know to the 1970s, when Dallas was using it. They were like one of the first to use it, but I don't think they, like today, there are some organizations that make their analytic department a religion almost. And, but I think that they incorporated it with their film sessions. We're a film-centric data gathering entity. We rely on eyewitness accounts. The video doesn't lie as far as we're concerned. Also, we're into one of the things we really preach at our church of film, the Church of Film, is that coaches, owners, or if it's college, I guess the whatever runs the college football program, and then the scouts, and then the coach, everybody's on the same wavelength, the same, not, people having all these different ideas, cooks in the kitchen coming in and shake it up, throw it against the wall. So we're anti cooks in the kitchen, I guess you could say. We're into more monolithic visions. So you sent me an article. This is the scouting guy. Everything I'm doing with this channel, with our Twitter, with TikTok, is this man right here, as his work, which I've been going back in time. I've been cataloging, like I said I was going to do, all your picks and stuff, and going over. We're going to do a looking back at that later on down the road. So the way I see it is that, and we're going to get into this, the Kansas City Chiefs looked at a guy you were looking at and signed him before this. You were talking about him before the Chiefs had signed him. So article came out. It was based, in my opinion, off of PFF, if I'm not mistaken, who solely looks at analytics, and they were looking at two, I think they're both left. Were they both tackles, one on the left and one on the right? Yeah, could you tell us a bit about those articles that came out?
So the articles I sent, beyond the analytics guy here, the articles that I sent him were basically the worst moves of the offseason. I wanted to see what their analysis was on what they thought were the worst moves of the offseason. But these articles are basically, like this man said, PFF PFF motivated more than anything. Again, I'm not really a big fan of Pro Football Focus. I just want to put that out there. I think they're a paper tiger organization that gets paid by all these organizations that aren't very good to say that they had great drafts or to say that they,
Here are the numbers. Here are the numbers.
Here are the numbers when they have no stats behind, or my apologies, no context behind those numbers. They have no reasoning behind those numbers. They just kind of just put numbers out and expect people to believe their bullshit. So basically, the articles I sent this man were Pete. I just had to laugh because reading what they said about certain moves, I kind of was just shaking my head because me and this man go by what the film says. We don't go by what numbers say. I'm not really a numbers person. I never have been, and I never will be without the context behind those numbers. And that is something that is lacking in today's analytic world, is they don't have any context behind any of the numbers that they are presenting, because, people are easily manipulated by numbers because that's more of a con game than anything else, because I think it's more of a lazy analysis more than the analysis that me and this man do. We actually put in the work, and I think a lot of these other people don't. I think it's just kind of a cheap way out more than anything, in my opinion.
Well, I think the PR, more of a PR thing, like you were saying in the beginning. So we're going to focus on, I'm going to supply a link to that article, but I want to focus on the two tackles, one a right and one a left tackle. And can you give us the name of those tackles, please?
Of the worst moves?
Yeah, the two in question, for one from the Jags and one from San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
That's where they came from.
Let's talk about the Mike McGlinchey one first. How they said that was one of the worst moves in the offseason. I completely agree with them, because I believe that they didn't need to pay Mike McGlinchey going from the San Francisco 49ers to the current iteration of the Walmart Broncos. That it was one of the worst moves. It was Jawaan James level bad when the Denver Broncos signed him a few years ago. I mean, it's on that level of being horrific, because when you look at Mike McGlinchey, number one, San Francisco wasn't, let's just say, they weren't afraid to lose him. They weren't, running to John Lynch or Adam Peters or Kyle Shanahan to say, sign this guy. No, they were content of letting him go.
Well, what did they see on the film that made them versus what PFF is saying? But what did their own film, their own knowledge, looking when they go and look at their own guy on film, what did they see that PFF doesn't talk?
Well, yeah, of course PFF doesn't talk about that. But what they saw on film is a guy that's, let's just say, he's starting to become injury prone. He has had both serious injuries on both legs, left and right. As an offensive lineman, and if you watch offensive line coaches and historians of offensive linemen, the one thing that they look at and the one thing that they rely on is their lower body technique. More than anything, you have to have elite lower body technique work to have a chance in the NFL, because the NFL is just on a whole nother level when it comes to speed and everything else, elusiveness, hand placement work, all the above. Also, with Mike McGlinchey, one of the things that was really damning to see was his pass protection technique. I mean, that was one of the things that I saw on film. And when the Walmart Broncos signed him, I said to Beyond the Analytics here, they're going to have to, if the Denver Broncos are going to, really protect that right side, they're going to have to put at least one or two tight ends or a blocking running back on that side, because that guy is, in Mike McGlinchey, he is not a great pass protecting tackle. His strength is going a lot of stretch plays and getting to that second level with his agile ability, a la Garrett Bowles in the running game. I think Garrett Bowles and Mike McGlinchey are eerily similar in their play, in my personal opinion, just due to the fact that their technique is very inconsistent. That's what I saw on film. Mike McGlinchey's technique work in both the running game and the pass protecting game phase, whatever you want to say, was very, very inconsistent. And you paid this guy like he was the next Trent Williams or Ronnie Stanley or Rashawn Slater, guys like that that are elite technicians. And they're very consistent in both the running game and the pass protecting phase. And you paid this guy like he was the second coming of Tom Nalen as a right tackle. So what I saw from Mike McGlinchey was very inconsistent play. And yes, he fits what San Francisco wants to do, but they were not willing to pay him the money that he was demanding to keep a guy like Mike McGlinchey around. They went out and got a guy in free agency. They have guys developing behind them that are just as good or better as Mike McGlinchey was.
And that goes to what we've always said about, one of our philosophies, getting away from the analytics and taking a look at film, and then all the everything that you see on film, history, when you start putting all the data together. One thing is systems. We talk about systems. And I was talking about development, just really quick about that is, if you see a guy, now here's something they don't talk about. You mentioned that this guy is becoming more injury prone, which is not mentioned in this article at all. And these are the kind of things that need to be evaluated. And this is why you got to keep drafting in that third, fourth, fifth round players, if you can't get them higher, for instance, to work behind these guys so they can come up. And then, these are people well capable if you're coached correctly. And I think that if you stay within the system, you can do this. But if you're into this, you want to talk. I don't want to get into the Denver Broncos in particular, but it's a good case in point to talk about the coach. Is that you have a coach that if you would run one system called, by and large, the power gap system. I get it. There's always little nuances and wrinkles you can throw in, but by and large, successful teams that we see stick with a system. They stick with one system. They may do a little nuance or a wrinkle there, but they stick to their core. What's not mentioned in these type of articles, and this is why I think our content is really something that you don't get to see anywhere else, is we talk about these things that never get talked about. Like, does McGlinchey even fit a system? If you're going to pay a guy, you would think there's all these other things you talked about that, he's a knee injury away from being, sitting in the hot tub. But the fact is that the guy doesn't fit the system, and I think that organizations that we've seen, the successful organization, be it college, be it the pros, they stick to their system. I do want to say something about something else. I noticed that misleading statistics with both the Kansas City acquisition and the Denver Bronco is it said number of sacks given up. Well, I can't trust that stat. I can't trust that stat because on any of these players, because I got to see the film. I got to see whether or not, was it truly given up by that tackle, or did, for instance, Russell Wilson in that case, if you want to talk about a guy, is he holding on to the ball too long? Did the quarterback actually run into the defender, run to him, or right? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that you can't just go by stats alone. You have to get context. So let's say he had 7. I guess you could talk about penalties too. That's one stat, but I'm talking about the giving up sacks. That's pretty subjective until you look at the film, because I don't know if the quarterback, missed a wide open receiver and he should have threw the ball. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of these stats, and I think this segues into Kansas City. You picked up this guy up on this as a free agent on the the tackle from in Jacksonville, and you did a whole film study on it as to why, which blows anything away the PFF people would ever give you. And they must have saw what you saw. And again, you got you got two organizations. You got one, the Broncos, who for the last 7 years have been failing. You have the Chiefs, who have been succeeding, and it goes beyond a quarterback. This is beyond a quarterback issue. I think what you saw with this I think he's a left tackle.
Right tackle.
But were they both right tackles?
Yes.
Okay, so with this right tackle, you saw on film a guy that fit that system, first of all. You saw an up-and-coming guy that could go take it to the next level if he was on the right organization. Let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're also an organization that doesn't seem to be very successful, and they lost a guy that maybe they should have invested a little bit more. And could you talk about this guy that was with the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Well, his name is Jawaan Taylor, and I was a really big fan of him coming out of Florida, the University of Florida, and also his progression throughout the league. He would have fit perfectly in that power gap system that you were talking about. And that's what Kansas City runs. They run more of that power-centric West Coast power run-centric spread offense with the sprinkle in, spread concepts. Jawaan Taylor was an absolute steal. I mean, he was 25 years old. He's up and coming, and he's just getting better and better. And when you line him up with guys like Trey Smith, who they got in the 6th round from Tennessee, Creed Humphrey, who they got in the 2nd round from Oklahoma, and they got Joe Thuney, one of the best guards in football, who they got from the Patriots. And also they got a left tackle, Donovan Smith, who they signed to a 1-year deal. But again, the reason I like that, because he fits the system, but they're developing guys behind Donovan Smith. They're developing guys under Joe Thuney. They're developing guys under Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, all the above. But they have a cohesion up front. They all fit the system. They all know what they're doing. They all know what their assignments are. And they're just very good players. They're growing in a system that their strengths are familiar with, and that can alleviate their weaknesses that can eventually become strengths down the line. So Jawaan Taylor was one of my favorite moves of the offseason. I was very high on him. And unlike the organization formerly known as the Denver Broncos, a la Walmart Broncos, the reason why Kansas City has been so successful is because they have been supplementing the offense and defensive lines ever since Andy Reid got there. Even before Patrick Mahomes, they were supplementing that. And even before they signed Patrick Mahomes to that mega deal, which
that
I would never
before.
do.
Now, there's a misconception out there that people think that they signed him and then built the line, but that's not what happened. They went out of there because they lost that Super Bowl, mainly because the line fell apart to a more superior defensive line that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had. So I just wanted to dispel the myth that they signed him and then built up the line. It was actually the other way around.
Yep, 100%. And that is what, and the one thing about Kansas City, one thing that they're known for is player development. And they get people, they get players. Yeah, okay, maybe they're not household names, but again, they get players that fit a system. And the Kansas City Chiefs have been running it for at least 2 decades almost. They know what they want. They got the scouts. They know what they want and the players that they're looking for. They're not the Denver Broncos who are or the Walmart Broncos who they're trying to buy their way to championships, and that's just not how it.
Well,
that's not how it works.
About mismatching coaches, and that's what I want to talk about. Like Streif, I think that I'm not just singling out the Walmart.
Let's be more detailed. Zach Streif is the offensive line coach for the Denver Broncos, because maybe people not.
I don't want to just center on the Broncos with this point.
I know dead street and
well, just let me make this point. Too many times in with these teams that aren't very successful, you have a guy that has the potential. Just, I mean, this isn't just players; it's coaches too. You get good coaching in, but you refuse to give the guy the tools to do his job. You say, okay, I want you to take this piece, which doesn't fit anything that you do as a coach, and make it work. This other piece, well, he does work, but these other two pieces don't work. Now it's your job to make it work. Well, you've already tied this guy's hands behind his back, and his leg is, behind his back. He's on one foot hopping around. And then because you had bad management, and you're not all in lockstep. Everybody's got an opinion, right? And everybody, this player and that. Again, because they go by the numbers, they don't go by what makes sense, and then build on the cohesionness. You're going to ask. I just feel that this coach is fighting a losing cause, is what I think is gonna go on. You have to. Sean Payton brought in tight ends to supplement, like you said. He brought tight ends to supplement, but again, and if the higher ups are saying, well, we don't want you running that, we want bombs away, so you know what I'm saying is, I'm just trying to say that there's so much mismanagement out there, killing coaches, killing players. I mean, look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, I'm not sure why they would leave. They had something there, and they let it go. You got to scratch your head as to, why these kind of things happen.
Well, you also got to marvel at the teams that are doing it right, though. Bills, Kansas City, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. I mean, we could talk about the Denver Broncos all we want, but you got to look at what the good teams are doing to understand how they're being successful, how are they rebuilding their teams, and also how are they retooling their teams, because I think that gets lost too, is how are you retooling your team with the depth that needs to be supplemented? And that's something that I think a lot of people kind of just ignore. And that's something that I look at, because, you can talk about first, second, third round picks all you want, but it's those fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round picks of how are you supplementing your team? How are you building the foundation of your team? Are you just supplementing the cornerback room with those fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round picks like we saw with the Denver Broncos? Are you supplementing the Walmart Broncos? Are you supplementing the receiver room? Or are you doing what the Eagles are doing, the Steelers are doing, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills are doing, which is just supplementing those trench play, but also getting a corner here, getting a receiver there, because you're already that is a strength, yes, but what is your ultimate strength? What is the thing that is going to take you over the mountaintop? And that is the offense and defensive line playing the trench play. And that's why I've been for 2-3 years that the Philadelphia Eagles have the best front office hands down in the National Football League, because they get it. They understand the process that needs to. Yeah, okay, maybe they lost the Super Bowl, but my goodness, it was still one of the best Super Bowls I've seen in a very long time, because both what did the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles have in common? Great trench play. Great outstanding trench play.
We're not fans of these teams. What we are, I guess you would say.
Well, I'm a fan of the Eagles in terms of what they're doing.
Of what? Yeah, we're fans of good management. We're fans of common sense approaches. And I just think that people get lost in these numbers that are thrown out about players and stuff. And but you start getting away from the fundamental facts that you have what Kansas City learned the hard way. They had to get that offensive line put together with guys that actually fit their system. And then they go to those fourth round and get guys that they may not be quite as good as their stars, but with their, because they got the coaching staff in there, they train those players to iron out some of those problems. They can even exceed those guys that they got with some of those later round drafts. And that's where we we're beyond we're beyond just, throwing numbers at, and what happens when you have, for instance, a great defensive line, especially when it's the interior is superior. You've just made your edges better, and you've just made your backfield a whole your linebacking a whole lot better. So you don't have to go get Deion Sanders. You don't have to go up. You can. They just you don't need to get the best running backs. I don't know, what was it, Detroit went brain dead and went and got this running, who's a great running back, but you have other needs on your team. If all you needed was a running back, well, sure, I guess, but you get a superior offensive line, especially in the interior, you could make a pretty darn good running back look like the next coming of whatever.
The next coming of Terrell Davis, who, again,
yeah,
benefited from that offensive line in the 90s with the Denver Broncos. Barry's, Walter Payton with those Bears O-lines. Nobody talks about that. They were great running backs in their own right, but they fit a system. Also, we talk about the draft. Free agency is another example of all the what are the good teams doing? They're getting players. They're not overpaying players. They're getting players on reasonable deals that maybe aren't the top free agents, but they're looking at that second, third tier guys that they can supplement. But also, like you said, they have draft picks that are developing under those guys that you sign to a 2-3 year deal, like the Philadelphia Eagles did. They let, this is just an example. They had TJ Edwards, a guy out of Northwestern who went to the Bears, who they gave a lot of money to, the Bears did. And I'm a big fan of linebackers. I think linebackers are, Pro Football Focus doesn't think they're essential, but they are. But that's for a different subject for a different day. But they had a guy like Nakobe Dean, who, again, was learning under TJ Edwards for a year. And they were like, okay, we can afford to lose TJ Edwards because we're going to supplement that front. We still have Kaiser White. We still have guys that are playing off-ball linebackers. So, again, it's just, again, these teams understand how to build their teams. And there's just a lot of other teams. I'm not going to single out the Walmart Broncos. There's a plethora of other teams out there that just don't get it because they're in analytics.
If you go back to the early 2000s or mid 2000s of the Patriots, they were losing defensive people, and they were supplementing all the time too. We saw that in that era. I just want to say this about you're a coach for the Kansas City offense. You're the offensive line coach of Kansas City Chiefs. And this is just to make a point. It's not about being a fan of one. This isn't a fan thing. This is a technical. This is technical speak, I guess. And then your Streif of the Denver Broncos. Which team would you rather? What would you rather be on? Would you rather be in a spaghetti factory where you're getting guys that don't even fit your system? Some people that are injury prone, and you got 10 cooks up there telling you this guy's great, this guy we don't want to. The center doesn't fit your system. The tackles don't fit your system, and or how would you rather be in Kansas City where, hey, we got, all I have to do as an offensive line coach is just keep doing what we've been doing and training our third, fourth, fifth, sixth rounders, show them the way, show them the way of the way we do things. So which job would you rather have? Would you leave that situation to go to a place, I don't care where it is, where they have no clue what they're doing? And they hand you a mixed bag of nuts and twigs and whatever, and they tell you to build a nuclear reactor.
Yeah,
professor.
Yeah.
No. So
great point.
So I'm just trying to make a point. Or the Steelers, for instance. How'd you like to be in the defensive line of the Steelers, or would you like to be another coach somewhere else where they're, again, you got a 4-3 guy, you got different, you're supposedly running a 3-4, but the office keeps giving you 4-3 guys. Where would you rather be? People that know their identity and you're a coach in that system, or do you want to be into someplace where they think just paying out money because PFF says is players the best thing since toilet paper? You know what? I'm beginning to think that we had one. We were, first of all, I've been thinking we're going to probably be in war with PFF. Well, I mean, it's more of an ideological war of how we go about things than an actual war. But we were doing the Denver Broncos at one time. We were at war with them. But I think that PFF's actual job is to get paid by the agents, by the players' agents and organizations to just spin out bullshit. And but I mean, I'm just saying, what would you rather be? What kind of an organization would you rather be in? One that has its shit together, or one that's bipolar, or whatever, or trying to buy their way and they don't know what they're doing? They got money, but they're handing it out like a fool on a street corner. They don't know what they're really doing with it.
I agree.
So anyways, that's kind of some of the stuff we're going to get into, but yeah. Hey, are you looking at film? Any film that you're looking at now?
I'm kind of taking a break because I overdid it last week. So this week I'm just kind of, taking just a little bit of a break. I'll probably start it up next week, but I wanted to take a break this week because my mind is just, ding, 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 ding. I mean, because you know how much film I watch. It's
yeah, you need
I just had to be like, I needed a break, but I do have a lot of paperwork and homework lined up. Been looking at guys, been writing down their strengths and weaknesses. Like I said, though, every time I do one, it's strictly my own. But I'm just getting things in line for next week so I can just pump out film, bang, 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 bang. So
hey, I you got high school kids are going to be going to college. I'd like to. Is there anything in the high school realm, or have you had a chance to take a look at that?
I haven't had a chance yet. I will probably start doing that next week. I want to try and get out college guys, and then I want to do a film review on that Jawaan Taylor guy that I was high on. I want to do a film.
Yeah, I'm gonna link to the one you did do prior to Kansas City.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to be a little bit more detail oriented when it comes to that film review. I really want to get better at that, and some I'm trying to get better at. But yeah, I think that's the stuff I have planned. Like I said, high school athletes going to start looking at those, and I'm going to see what is next for the scouting guy moving forward.
So what's the name of that the guy that went to Kansas City again? What's his name?
Jawaan Taylor.
Okay, Jawaan Taylor. Can you give us just a little bit on, he gave up this many sacks? Well, we don't know if Lawrence was holding on the ball, which he tended to, number one. But what did you just give us some the bullet points on what you and the Kansas? It's not just you, the Kansas City Chiefs. They looked at the film too, and what did both you and the Kansas City Chiefs see? Because you put the film out before they actually made the acquisition. So, what is the what did you see in the film? Some of the bullet points that why they would. He obviously fits the system, but what really did you see that jumped out at you?
Well, number one, he's young and up and coming. He's getting better each and every year, and that's something that I look.
Tripled at the knee.
He's not a guy like Mike McGlinchey, who's 28 and kind of just leveled out where he is as a player. Jawaan Taylor's going to a great situation in Kansas City. I think even a better one than Jacksonville, in my opinion. I don't think Jacksonville valued a guy like Jawaan Taylor. I think Jawaan Taylor is going to benefit with being around guys like a Trey Smith, a Creed Humphrey, a Joe Thuney. I think the one thing that is concerning about him is he still needs to get better with the consistency on the pass protection side of things. But I think with Kansas City, they've been running the same system for 2 decades, and they can mirror those weaknesses with strengths in terms of how they game plan each and every week. I think Jawaan Taylor is a very good signing. I think his strength is going to be going straight forward in that running game. You're going to have Isaac Piancho, the running back who they have over there. And you're going to have Jordan, you're getting what's his name? Travis Kelce, my apologies. Right. He's going to be right there. And you have a lot of people that you can take from in terms of that offensive line. So I think Jordan Taylor, with the strengths that come with him, he's very intelligent. I think one thing that gets lost with offensive linemen is situational awareness. Situational awareness, and what I mean by that is being aware of what your opponent's doing, but also what is happening around you. I think having an awareness of what's happening behind you, just being technically sound with situational awareness on top of that is what makes offensive linemen elite. He has great footwork. He's very agile in his lower body, especially for a guy that's his size. So I think getting him and adding him to that room, I think was just, and letting go of a guy like Orlando Brown. And I know that hurts for some Kansas City guy, but you're getting a guy in Jawaan Taylor who's younger, who's upcoming, and fits the system.
And here you opened up another door. This is what we exist for. Why would you get rid of Mr. Brown? Well, why you're right.
Well, Orlando Brown, he's a good player, but he wanted to be a left tackle. He wanted to be paid as a left tackle. But I think getting Jawaan Taylor on that 4-year deal, he's still developmental. He's still ascending. I think Orlando Brown has leveled out, and I know what kind of player he is. He's an okay left tackle. But again, would you rather go with the guy who's kind of leveled out or the guy that's still ascending? And that's Jawaan Taylor, who, in my personal opinion, I would have let Orlando Brown go and get Jordan Taylor, just due to the fact that they're eerily similar. But I think the higher upside with Jordan Taylor is what the Kansas City Chiefs saw on film and were content of letting a guy like Orlando Brown go.
He can get that next rung.
He can get that next level, yes.
Yes. And some teams just can't figure that out. And Jacksonville, they used to really covet their lines. They really coveted what they did, and it seems, and I don't understand. You went and got your franchise quarterback. Why that? You wouldn't
protect him.
Well, you wouldn't keep that developmental attitude going in your organization, as opposed to. And again, I want to talk about hierarchy a little bit. Can I talk about hierarchy of organization?
I'll let you talk about that. Go ahead.
This is what I think it's teams and organizations into trouble. First, you have ownership. I don't know what it is on the collegiate level, of that. You have the
athletic directors, you have chancellors. It's different, but you have chancellors, athletic directors. If you have a good athletic director and you have a good head coach, like you're going to get into, good GM, good head coach, front office, that mesh, like right here, like they're starting to do again. You could tell the difference if you have a good athletic director, a good head coach that mesh together. You get people around them that understand what players they want to get in recruiting, that fit that system. That's what Nebraska is doing extremely well right now. That's why I think they're sending more than they have for the past 2 decades have been descending. But go ahead. Yeah, it's a little bit more different, but in terms of recruiting and the type of players that you want to get, it's eerily similar. Go ahead.
So let's just stick with the NFL right now. You have ownership, and that could mean a lot of different things now. You could have several owners and everybody's got an idea, right? Everybody has an idea. Or you have one owner that says, look, you tell me, you're the GM, you tell me, what you need. Okay. Then some other organizations, you got the player personnel department outside the GM. They got their ideas, right? They've got their ideas of doing, the GM's got them. Then you finally get down to the coach. Are all these people, you have to ask yourself, is your organization, are they all on the same sheet of music, really? Or does this person have an idea, this other person have an idea, but by the time it gets to the head coach, he's got all these people with ideas, that may or may not fit what the head coach. It could be, we're going to dictate to you what these ideas are, and then you get to what I was saying, the offensive line coach, for instance, is being handed all this soup, or you get an offensive line coach that comes from a mentality where owner, GM, player personnel, forget the marketing department, all the administration stuff. We're just talking about football operations. Everybody's just making sure that, you got this, we got what you need. You are, and then let's get to the coaching side of it. You have scouts who are in lockstep with the coaching staff as far as the system goes, and they understand the coaching staff as far as developmental process goes, versus people that don't, the organizations that don't have that connection. So you have a whole bunch of scouts scouting for that. Then you have the coaching staff coming up with schemes, right? With offensive and defensive scheming, to the X's and O's, correct? So I'm just getting to the point across that I think we've taken for granted as people looking into this. PFF gives you numbers, people write articles, but we forget, the different processes with each organization, whether it's college or whether it's the pros, and how that process really manifests itself in the end product when it's all said and done. And I think that that's something that streamlining that process, I think, is I think is going to be a future trend with organizations versus ones that get. Aren't we starting to see some organizations starting to really get it? And it doesn't mean that they're all going to win Super Bowls, but it definitely shows that they're going to be truly competitive and giving them the best shot for those championships. Where you're not, where some organizations, I think there's also there's the mentality in some organizations. I was having a conversation with you privately. I said, some organizations are just like, yeah, we'd like to win championships. Well, they'll tell you they expect to win them, but really, they would just like to win them. And there's other organizations that they expect to win championships. That's expected. It's just expected. There's nothing to discuss.
Yep.
So that really, I think, encapsulates, what you deal with when you're in the world of sports in general, but football for sure. So you have anything you'd like to say about any of that?
No, I agree with you. I know what you said there. Well said.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to more film being released.
Yep. I just wanted to point out there that a little thing on the side, for future reference, I started a Twitch thing, and I'm going to try and.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. The Twitch. This is more of a personal project.
Yeah. More of a, what I would do if I was a GM in terms. I know it's Madden, but I'm going to try and do it the way that me and this man see it, the way I see it, and how I would build a team, fantasy draft style. So that's basically what I have planned in the.
We see how it goes up against some of the.
Yeah. And it's the same as my YouTube channel, The Scouting Guy, and I linked it to his channel in our old channel, the Walmart Broncos channel. So
I'll put I'll put all the links in with this. Yes.
Awesome.
So brought that up. I'm glad you brought it up because I was just saying it off the cuff. Like, yeah, you ought to, and maybe you can release some of that with little clips of that film too.
Yeah. Just show how I would build a team, but I just wanted.
All in fun, and it's all.
It's all fun. It's all all in fun, but kind of a generalization on how me and this man kind of see things. How we kind of pick and choose the players and all that stuff. So that's something that I have planned in the coming months or weeks or whatever.
Great. Twitch. Yeah, that's funny. That's really funny. I have to get the Twitch app or whatever. I'm just trying to put all this other stuff together. So anyway, everything's been going pretty good. I'm just glad that we can talk about what works.
Yeah, and what we're good at instead of having to worry about negativity and the same crap over and over again. So
Yeah, yeah. All right. Is there anything else you wanted to bring to the table?
nope, I think that puts a lid on our conversation today.
Yeah, I'm going to say maybe next week I'm going to go back and look at some of your picks because I think what we
Okay.
should talk about is I think what's really key is going to the right system. Did the players go to the right system? I'll probably do some recapping and then I'll write up notes and then we'll go through the players
Okay.
and I'll give you a little background and you tell me whether they got to the right system because your picks really are system dependent, and that's part of what we can't expect that a player in one system they want to turn them into something else. That's really what, in my opinion, is an out there experiment at the expense of these players and their coaches. Really, I'm just so anti that. I'm just really anti that. Don't do it. Don't do that. But PFF says he's such a great player, but you get him in the right system, he'll even be better.
Absolutely, 100%.
That's my final thing to say, I guess. Well, I hope this went well. I had some ideas, based off that article because they just PFF said this. Well, what is this? I got to look at. I really would have to look at the film. I'm going to supply the film that you did. You want to do another one? That's fine, but I'm going to supply the link to that. So,
okay, sounds good.
Yeah, maybe we'll tweet that out too or something that eventually one of these days. I've scanned a bunch of them, so I got one, and I'll go back and I'll get that.
I've been sharing them too, so to help out as well.
Good. Do you have the Twitter thing?
Yeah, it's the scouting guy. Yeah.
Oh no, I mean the Beyond Analytics one. Oh, I would have put all the links in.
No,
I'll put links in. If you need a link, it's there. So.
Okay, cool.
All right. Hey, take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.